This is an upgrade. We are upgraded. You want to know why? I have a microphone. I am not filming on my laptop. I am filming on a camera because I bought an SD card. And if my eyes keep going between camera, viewfinder, camera, I need to stop looking at the viewfinder. I need to look at the camera. I have ADHD though, so that's going to be sometimes hard to remember because there's like this little thing like going like, woo. Welcome back. We are doing a little story today. I'm going to tell you a story. And it's an ancient story. It's a Greek myth. And it's a new kind of story time. And by new, I mean very, very old tradition. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys what I've previously mentioned is my favorite myth, which is the myth of Bellerophon. And I used to think it was pronounced Bellerophon, but it is Bellerophon. The R is earlier. But the myth of Bellerophon and Pegasus. Let's get into it. Before I tell you the myth of Bellerophon, I have to tell you the myth of Pegasus. How Pegasus came about. Pegasus was born after Theseus killed... Oh, no, it wasn't Theseus. Megan, get your mythology right. It wasn't Theseus, it was Perseus. After Perseus slayed Medusa, cut off her head, her blood fell into the ocean, and from the ocean foam outsprung Pegasus. And Pegasus' origin is very similar to Aphrodite. And if you guys want to hear more myths, I'm totally down to do that. Just because it is something that I enjoy and I have enjoyed from when I was a young child. And then, as Pegasus was born, he flew up to Olympus and was accepted by the gods as a, just a holy being. So Pegasus was accepted onto Olympus and was particularly favored by Athena. Athena saw him for his strategic advantages, stuff, because it was like having a cavalry but on wings, so you could totally swoop in and just take out your enemy. And Athena is the goddess of war strategy, as well as intellect and architecture. So Athena really liked Pegasus, and that becomes important later. Now enter Bellerophon. And I am getting most of my information for this myth that I couldn't remember off of the top of my head from the million times that I watched this movie from the library, like 15 years ago. Okay, maybe not quite 15, but like 12 years ago. So let's just say that I needed a little help. So if you see me like going like this, I'm reading off of this website. It's called MadelineMiller.com. It's actually very well put together. She wrote a book called The Song of Achilles. So she and her significant other are absolute mythology nuts. And for a long time, they did this thing called Myth of the Week on their blog. And so I will link that information in the description down below. Huge thanks to Madeline Miller. You wrote a really good synopsis of the story. Bellerophon, the famous rider of Pegasus. Bellerophon was born in Corinth to a mortal woman and Poseidon. Now, some versions of the myth go that he was born to the king of Corinth, but I like the version where he was born of Poseidon. It kind of brings the whole thing together, considering the origin of Medusa and like that whole story, to bring Poseidon into it. If you would like the story of Medusa, also comment or like the video or whatever, just let me know, because That's a really fun myth too that you could really get into. But eventually, later on, as he grew into a man, he committed manslaughter. He accidentally killed somebody. And so he was sent to trial with King Proteus. And while he was on trial, King Proteus's wife accused Bellerophon, falsely accused Bellerophon of assault. I can't say the word because of the YouTube algorithm. And if I eventually get the opportunity to monetize this video, I do not want it to be demonetized. So we're going to say assaulted. So he was accused of assault and was sent and found guilty of manslaughter as well. So he was sent away to a different kingdom, to Lycia, with King Proteus's father-in-law, Iobates. And when he sent him off, King Proteus gave Bellerophon a sealed letter to give to the other king. And it has instructions that he should murder Bellerophon upon arrival. And Bellerophon was obviously instructed not to open this. It was opening somebody else's mail. So basically, King Proteus he exiled Bellerophon with his own death sentence. And Bellerophon had no idea. So he sent him off, and King Iobates opened the letter, and he read it, and he didn't want to do that. He was reluctant to do it himself. It wasn't that he had a problem with killing Bellerophon, it's just he didn't want to do it directly. Because he was worried about the wrath of Zeus, because Bellerophon is the son of Poseidon, which Poseidon is Zeus's brother. So he didn't really want to have the wrath of Zeus for killing Zeus's nephew. So Iobates decided to send Bellerophon on a deadly quest, and I need to quit out of Discord. So Iobates sent Bellerophon on a deadly quest to slay a monster. No. Are we going again? We're going again. Anyway, so he sent Bellerophon on a deadly quest to destroy a monster that was terrorizing the kingdom of Lycia. And this monster was called the Chimera. Now, this is where I'll put a picture of the Chimera. Chimera was on its front half. Yeah, so its front legs were the legs of a lion, and its one head. Its back legs were the back legs of a goat, and it also had a goat head. And then its tail was that of a snake. And it was huge, and it was completely terrorizing the kingdom of Lycia. Now, Lycia was like, we can't get rid of this. Nobody can get even close to it, because either its claws are going to get us, or it's just going to, we can't even get in here. So Iobates sent Bellerophon, because he figured that would be a death sentence, but he wouldn't have a hand in Bellerophon's death directly. Therefore, he wouldn't incur the wrath of Zeus. Bellerophon found out he had to slay the Chimera, and he's like, I can't do this by myself. I need help. Because there's no way I can just go up with a little sword and go and slay this guy. I have to have help. So he petitioned the gods. What he did on his way over is he slept in the temple of Athena. And he's like, I need help. I need some strategy here. And you're the goddess of strategy. Please help me out. Now, if you remember, Athena like loved Pegasus, and she was the only one really that could ride him. As he prayed, as he was going to sleep, in his dream, a vision of Athena appeared. And Athena told him where he could find this magical winged horse named Pegasus. But she warned that only people with a certain piece of equipment, a golden bridle, could ride the horse. The horse could not be tamed, and as he woke, she placed the golden bridle at his side. So when he awoke, he found it, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I can go get Pegasus, and this is my key to winning this battle." With this golden bridle, Bellerophon went to the place that Athena showed him in his dream. There by the water, he saw Pegasus. And up he held the golden bridle, and along rolled over Pegasus, very excited to see Athena's bridle, because he loved Athena, and he knew that Athena wouldn't give the bridle to anyone that wasn't worthy of riding him. So Bellerophon was able to get on Pegasus right away. He was able to tame him, essentially, and ride off on Pegasus. And off he flew to do battle. Now, here's another thing about the Chimera. The Chimera breathes fire. Fighting with poison. No, the goat had breathed fire. So, even if you have this magical winged horse, you're not going to be able to escape this fire. So, he couldn't just go up and stab the Chimera with a sword, because he would get burned to a crisp. And so would Pegasus. And so what Bellerophon did was he tied a piece of lead to his spear. So then as the Chimera opened its mouth to breathe fire at him, he could throw the spear into the mouth of the Chimera. And the reason why he did that is so the lead would melt and then choke the Chimera, which is actually really brilliant. Very worthy champion of Athena, Bellerophon. So he threw his spear and it landed perfectly. And as the Chimera went to breathe fire on him, it melted the lead and stopped it instantly, and it suffocated. So Bellerophon slays the Chimera. It says, the lesson is clear. Clever thinking and a flying horse are tough to beat. So Bellerophon is one of the only champions that I've ever seen in Greek mythology of Athena. Not very many other demigods were really worthy of the title because they weren't really clever enough to come up with this stuff. He just put two and two together. He's like, okay, I've got this flying horse. What do I do next? You know what? This thing breathes fire. And fire is hot. And hot things burn metal. So what if I put this low melting point metal onto my spear and throw it in, and then it would like suffocate it? There's a reason why Athena chose Bellerophon to favor, because she favors wisdom and strategy, and that's what he exhibited. So, unfortunately, slaying the Chimera is not the place where the myth of Bellerophon ends. He rode back into the kingdom, and he told the king of his great feat. But unfortunately, with that taste of victory, he got a little bit cocky. He wasn't satisfied by being this great hero and the only mortal rider of Pegasus. He was ambitious, and he wanted more. He wanted to rival even Hercules, or Heracles, because we're talking about Greece here. He wanted to rival Heracles and Theseus and Perseus. He wanted to be greater than them. because they all had their greatness, but he wanted more. So he decided he wanted to go to Olympus itself. And being mortal, he could not enter Olympus. But he figured he has Pegasus. He can fly to Olympus. And unfortunately, that was not the case. He urged Pegasus on. And so Pegasus bucked in the middle of the sky and threw Bellerophon off. And he fell back to the earth. His ambition was eventually going to be his downfall, even though it was at one point his greatest strength. And he fell down to the earth because the gods punished him for his hubris. He did not die from that fall. He actually lived, but he was crippled forever and unable to do any more adventures, and was never able to ride Pegasus again. And he was blinded, and he was cursed to stumble all over the earth looking for Pegasus, the horse that he had just fallen in love with, not in like a romantic sense, but like the way that someone bonds to like their best friend. He was searching the earth for his best friend, blinded and unable to find Pegasus because he decided to challenge the gods. And there's different fates for different heroes. Achilles was slain by his weak ankle, his mortal weakness. Heracles he eventually, as far as I remember, Heracles went mad and he was forced to like kill his own family and stuff. The Disney movie is not accurate whatsoever. It kind of briefly goes through the 12 trials, but that's another story that we can also tell. So Heracles suffered a horrible fate. Achilles, also a horrible, horrible fate. One of the only happy endings in Greek mythology is that of, I think it's Perseus. I want to say Perseus is the only one who lived happily. All the rest of them either died horrible deaths or were given tragic ends, like Bellerophon searching the earth. So Bellerophon was cursed to wander the earth, reflecting on all of his regrets that he had in his life, remembering that his hubris was his downfall. Literally. Okay, it's time for me to reflect. The reason why I like this myth a lot is first of all, when I was younger, we used to go to the library and check out movies. I don't even remember what the movie was called, but this is the one that, like, maybe it was individual. I don't know for sure. But this particular myth always stood out to me, partially because it involved Pegasus, which for someone who grew up loving horses and still loves horses to this day, horse girl. Anyway, someone who grew up loving horses, seeing this magical horse that he was able to ride and was integral to his success. And Bellerophon seems very human almost. He asked for help and was championed for his wisdom, which I just really, really, well, maybe not necessarily wisdom, but his strategy and his intellect. And for someone who was a big nerd, Bellerophon was really awesome to learn about. I really like this myth. It's just struck a chord with me, I think. And so I hope you enjoyed this. It's kind of interesting, something a little different. Anyway, if you want to hear more myths and want me to make more videos about those, I could tell the story of Heracles. That would definitely be a longer video because that is a long story. Tell the story of Medusa and Perseus. I could tell the story of a bunch of different people. But I'm going to leave here. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. Remember that you matter. And stay safe.